Welcome to episode 4. I'm your host, Anish Patel, and this is 5 for Podcasting. As always, big thank you goes out to everybody who subscribed, followed, rated the podcast. We are available on majority of podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. So be sure, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead, subscribe, leave us a rating. If you're already subscribed, go ahead and click unsubscribe and resubscribe again. That actually helps boost our numbers a little bit to move on up in the rankings. I know it's kind of a stupid thing the way they do it, but gotta play the system, right? So follow us, subscribe. You can also follow the podcast on social media, on Instagram and Twitter at 5 for podcasting. That's at 5 for podcasting. You can also follow me personally on Twitter at avpatel730. So for episode 4, I'm going to do an NFL preview. I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. That way, it's not, not overwhelming. That way, the pod doesn't get too long. So today, I'm going to cover the NFC. We're going to go through each division. We're going to go through some of the over/under for win totals for the teams. I'm going to give you my picks for who I think is going to win the division, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to start off with the NFC East. So NFC East is typically been a division that's been up in the air. You know, there was many years there where there was never a repeat winner of the division. So, with teams like Dallas, Philadelphia, those are probably your 2 perennial favorites in this division. And then you got Washington and New York, who, we'll see how what comes from their teams and how they put the teams together that they did. So, first team I wanted to talk about was the Eagles. Now the Eagles, they have upgraded their receiver position. They got Jason Peters, who seems to be a suitable replacement for their injured right guard Brandon Brooks. And Carson Wentz looks like, he could be, he could be poised for another MVP caliber season. Um, we'll see what comes of it, but it definitely looks like he can get that way. Now they also did sign Darius Slay, shutdown corner from Detroit. I was actually surprised when Detroit let him go. He's one of the top corners in the league, so the fact that the Eagles got him to match up with the receivers in their division is only going to prove good for them. So, they did add. They made some improvements on spots that they needed to. Um, right now, Vegas has their win total for over under 9.5 wins. So if I'm looking through their schedule here, they got Washington week 1. I see that as a win. They got the Rams week 2. Um, they got the Bengals, the Niners, the Steelers. Ravens, they get the Cowboys twice, Giants twice, Washington twice. They got the Saints, they got the Cardinals. So they got some tough games in there. I think they could win 10, if not 11 games, looking at their schedule. So 9.5. I like that bet. I would take the over on that. Like I said, I can see them losing to the Niners. I can see them losing to the Rams. I can see them losing to the Ravens. I can see them losing to the Saints, Seahawks. So that's 5 losses right there. They'll probably sweep the Giants. They'll probably sweep the Washington football team. Probably split against the Cowboys. So I can see them getting to 10, if not 11 wins. Now, with the Cowboys, they actually made some big moves this offseason. They drafted rookie CD Lamb out of Oklahoma. They also recently picked up Everson Griffin from the Vikings on defense. Dallas already had a pretty good defense as is. So the fact that they're able to add Everson Griffin is only going to make them better. And offensively, they're going to be a juggernaut. They already had Amari Cooper. They had Michael Gallup, who's making strides. Like I said, they added CD Lamb. Um, they have Zeke, who is a proven top tier running back. So this is really going to all come down to how Dak Prescott plays. If Dak can somehow, if Dak can um, channel his inner greatness and really, really spread the ball around, utilize the pressure that Zeke is taking off of him, this team is going to be awesome. They're going to be fun to watch. Now, the big question on Dak is can he do that? He hasn't really proven in the past that he can. He did it that one year that he came into when he replaced Tony Romo. But other than that, he hasn't really had uh, a season to where he's been able to carry the team by himself. Now, looking at Dallas's over under, their over is set at 10 wins. Okay. So looking at their schedule, obviously they get their division twice, each team in their division twice. They also have the AFC North with the Browns, Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals. Um, Looks like they also have the NFC West with the Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams. So that's a tough schedule. I, I can see them winning 10 games, but I'd be hard pressed to pick the over on that one. I would probably stay away from this pick. 10 seems about right for their win total on that. Now, moving on to the Giants. Um, it's gonna be an interesting year for the Giants. Daniel Jones is gonna take one more. He has another year under his. He'll get another year under his belt. It's his second year. He'll have a new offensive coordinator with Jason Garrett. So we'll see if Jason Garrett can create a scheme that can really showcase Daniel Jones's skills and the things that he's good at. Um, they have some weapons there. Obviously, they got Saquon Barkley, one of the most talented running backs we've seen in a while. They got an awesome tight end in Evan Ingram. They got a receiver like Sterling Shepard. So they have some options there. The big question with them is their defense. Their defense is gonna be tough. Like it's gonna be tough on their offense because their defense is not that great in my opinion. So I think what's going to happen is that defense, if they can stay solid and just bend not break and let Saquon get in the groove, that's going to open up a lot of things for that offense. But if that defense gives up quick touchdowns, if they give up big plays, that's going to prevent the Giants on offense to utilize Saquon to the best of his ability. So it's all going to come down to that, really, in my opinion. I think if that defense can hold up, then they're going to be in for that offense could make some waves. So looking at their over under, looks like the Giants over under is set at 6.5 wins. Okay, so 6.5 wins. That's a tough one. Not only do the Giants have the same schedule as the other two teams with, playing the NFC East twice, they get the AFC North, the NFC West, but they also got Buccaneers on their schedule. Um, you know, they have the Bears on their schedule. So it's going to be tough for the Giants. 6.5 wins. I just don't trust that defense enough. I would probably go under. Not too much under. I think they'll get to 6 wins. I don't think they'll get to 7. like I said, that defense, I just don't trust him, and that's kind of the bottom line with them. Now, last but not least, we're talking about the Washington football team. Now, they recently brought in new coach Ron Rivera, who I am a fan of. He did some great things in Carolina with the teams that he had. He is a proven head coach. He is a guy that a lot of players respect around the league. He is a guy that a lot of other coaches respect around the league. So I think they definitely made the right move bringing him in. I think he was the obvious choice, and that was probably the best move that they made in the offseason. That, along with drafting um, the rookie Chase Young out of Ohio State. Chase Young, he to me could be a once in a generation type talent. Ohio State has had a run of awesome defensive ends come out lately with the Bosa brothers and now Chase Young. So, if he is on track with the Bosa brothers, he's going to be an absolute monster. Um, and with the offenses that Washington is going to have to go through in this division, drafting Chase Young seemed like the obvious choice. And I can't knock that draft pick for them. The question for them is how are some of their other players gonna play this year? You have Darius Geis finally, if he can stay healthy, how he's gonna do with controlling the ground game. If he can stay healthy, that'll prove all for the Redskins. It'll be also interesting to see how Dwayne Haskins does in his second full year starting. Now, I know Alex Smith was just taken off of the disabled list, so we'll see what happens with him. I don't think Ron Rivera will go with Alex Smith, to start the season, or he won't be ready to start the season. But I don't think he's going to go to Alex Smith at all in the season. We'll see. Depends on how they do. Um, you know, their over under is set at 5.5 wins. And looking at their schedule, I don't see them getting there. Um, I probably see them getting to four wins, maybe five. Five is a little bit of a stretch, but I would take the under on that. Um, Now, in terms of who I think is going to win this division, it's a two-team race for me. It's Dallas and it's the Eagles. And it's going to come down to, for me, how one person plays, and that's Dak Prescott. If he can play like he did his first year when he took over for Tony Romo, I think Dallas takes the division. But if he struggles and he has trouble spreading the ball around to all these weapons that he has, I think Philadelphia takes this division. Um, and I that's how I see it playing out. I personally like Philadelphia to win. If I had to put money on it, I'd probably put money on them in the long haul. So now let's move on to the NFC North. Okay, this is an interesting division for me because there's not really one standout team that you can point at and be like, oh, they're the hands down clear favorite. 2 years ago you had the Bears, who were awesome. Last year you had the Vikings and the Packers. The Lions are always somehow competitive. I guess is a nice way of putting it. But let's start with the Packers. Um, Packers will now be in their second full year under Matt LaFleur. Um, he showed in year one that he knows how to coach. I mean, he can coach this team up. It's unfortunate for them. They ran into a buzzsaw known as the 49ers in that defense. But it's going to be interesting to see how year two under Matt LaFleur, how Aaron Rodgers is going to do in his offense. I assume it's going to be run to near perfection. He'll have a full year and a half almost before he steps foot on the field. You know, Rodgers has a lot of weapons. Aaron Jones is always a beast. Um, they have AJ Dillon, who is an up and comer who can cause some noise. Um, that defense is coming along. They actually made some big moves last year in the offseason. So I think that defense will play up to that level again this year. So it's really going to come down to their offense. And I think if their receivers stay healthy, if Devontae Adams stays healthy, if Some of these other guys are good to go, then they're going to have some success there. Now, their over under win total is set at 9. Um, I don't think they're going to get to that 13 win season like they did last year, but I do think they will get to at least 10 wins. They have the AFC South, they have obviously the NFC North twice, and it looks like they have the NFC South as well on their schedule. So it's going to be a tough schedule. I do see them getting to 10 wins though. There's some tough games, but like I said, when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers on your team, you can never really count them out. So moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Vikings, they lost Stephon Diggs, they lost Everson Griffin. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds to that. Um, Mike Zimmer is one hell of a coach, and if I had to bet on any coach in the NFC North to pick as my coach, I'd probably pick Mike Zimmer. He's a defensive genius, so it's going to be fun to see how he can revamp that defense into a once dominating defense if he can turn them back to that. Is the biggest question with them again is quarterback with Kirk Cousins. You know, Losing a weapon like Stephon Diggs is going to be interesting to see how he responds to that, how he's gonna spread the ball around. He's still got Adam Thielen, he's still got Dalvin Cook, he's still got Kyle Rudolph, so he's still got quite the bit of weapons around him. And Kirk Cousins is very hot and cold, right? When he's hot, he's gonna throw for 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But when he's cold, that's gonna be the complete opposite. So it's all gonna come down to him. You know, the worst the worst case for them is really if he just turns the ball over multiple times a game, and that's really the worst case for them because if once they turn the ball over, Minnesota has shown in the past that they do not necessarily do well from playing from behind. So the key for them is to really get on top, um, score first, and then stay ahead of these teams. Because when they play from behind, they're a completely different team, and they're just not good. Is the nicest way to put it, really. And their over under actually is also set at 9 games, same as the Packers. So you know, looking at their schedule, um, you know, I'd probably take the under on that one. 9 games seems about right, but with the teams they're playing, I just with the amount of losses that they had with Stephon Diggs and Everson Griffin, I just don't see them overcoming that nine win over under. So I would take the under on them. I think they'll get to 8 wins. 9 seems like a little bit of a stretch. So let's go ahead and move to the Detroit Lions. Okay. Now, the Lions, you know, Matt Stafford for the Lions has been the one consistent thing for them. Somehow, year in year out, he always produces. He's always putting up big numbers, and he always has that team competing. And that's why you can never really rule out the Lions because even if they're out of it, they'll make a quick run towards the end of the game to really make things difficult on their opponents. Now, he had a back injury last year, so it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from that. Um, the thing with the Lions is I just don't trust Matt Patricia. I don't think he's a very good coach. I think his teams just have quite a bit of talent on it. And I think that's been kind of getting him by for the past couple of years. But I just don't see Matt Patricia out coaching the likes of a Mike Zimmer or Matt LaFleur at the end of the day. So that's kind of where I am with the Lions. They have weapons, they have speed. It's all going to come down to Matt Stafford and how healthy he is after his back injury, and also it's going to come down to Matt Patricia and how he handles some big coaching decisions. So the Lions, their over under is set at 6.5, and I actually like the over for them. I think they can get to 7. wins. I think on the best case scenario for them is 8-8. But if you look at historically them against the NFC North, they always at least split with the other teams. Um, so that alone right there is 3 wins. Um, they're gonna have the Jaguars on their schedule. That's probably another win. They're gonna have Washington on their schedule. That could be another win. So there's some wins in there for them. So I think they can definitely get over 6.5. So I would definitely take the over on that because I think they can get to 7 without any issues there. Now the last team in the NFC North is the Bears. Now the Bears are an enigma because that defense, when they're on and healthy, that to me is probably the best defense in the league, only behind San Francisco, in my opinion. Now the question for them is obviously health, but not only that is that offense that they have to play behind is rough. Um, Mitch Trubisky is not the answer. I live in Chicago, so I hear a lot of Mitch Trubisky talk, and fans are getting restless with him. I mean, the fact that you see the other two guys in his draft class, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, playing lights out, not a good look for Mitch Trubisky. The Bears brought in Nick Foles in the offseason. Um, I don't think that was an intention to start Nick Foles. I think it was more of a competition thing for Mitch Trubisky. But we'll see. It would not surprise me if Foles ends up starting halfway through the season, if not sooner. It all depends. The struggle with the Bears last year was Trubisky just put them in situations to where he would turn the ball over, throw interceptions, fumble it, whatever the case may be, where he's putting defense in a bad situation. And if that defense is on the field for 45, 50% of the game for long drives, that no, I don't care how good your defense is. If you're winded, you're not going to be able to do anything out there. And that's what it's going to come down to is progression of Mr. Trubisky. Matt Nagy is supposedly this offensive genius, but he's going to need to figure out a way to unlock Mr. Trubisky and to cater to what he does best. Because if he doesn't, I think they need to move on from Mr. Trubisky. But I think this is the year that they're waiting on. This is the year that they're going to be able to tell for sure if Trubisky is the right pick or not. Now their over under for the Bears is set at 8. Unfortunately for Bears fans, I don't. 8 seems about right, actually. I see them pushing that. I don't see them. They could get to 9 wins. I don't see them getting more than 9. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably just stay away from this one altogether. I think 8 wins that Vegas is at for them seems about right. So, that's kind of where I am going to leave that. Now, for the winner of this division, again, I think it's going to come out of 2 teams, Packers and Vikings. For me personally, I'm going to go with the experience of the Packers and Aaron Rodgers um, to outlast the Vikings in the season. Not saying the Vikings can't win this division because I think they are completely capable of winning the division, but I think just the experience and overall talent that the Packers have will lead them to a division championship. So, all right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll get back into the other 2 divisions of the NFC, the NFC West, and then the NFC South, and uh, and then we'll be right back. So let's take a quick break. All right, so let's move on to the NFC South. Now, this division is going to be a fun division to watch. They are 4 teams deep. I think every team has a chance to compete for the division. Maybe outside the Panthers, but even the Panthers, they've got a lot of talent. They can definitely make some noise. So let's start with the Saints. The Saints, obviously they're stacked. They've got everybody back. They added Emmanuel Sanders. They've had some tough losses the past 2 years in the playoffs. And Drew Brees has looked like he may be regressing a little bit in his career. He's still putting up big numbers. Don't get me wrong, but there are some throws I've noticed the last couple of years that he used to be able to make a few years ago that he can't make now. And that's just age, I mean, that's a natural progression that's going to happen. But when you have guys like Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, you're going to be okay. He's got enough weapons to help bail him out. So, as always, the Saints offense is going to be top notch. They're going to be tier one offense, an elite offense. That defense also is pretty solid. In past years, we've always seen, or we've always thought of the Saints defense as, you know, they just kind of give up 20, 30 points a game. They're not really a solid defense. But the past couple of years, they've been solid. They've been a bend, don't break type defense, give up 3, not 7. And that's the reason why they won so many games the past few years, why they're still relevant. Um, so for them, Vegas actually has their win total. Um, let's see here. Their win total is set at 10.5. So looking at their schedule here, looks like they have the AFC West. Looks like they have the NFC North. So man, 10.5. That's a rough one. Considering you got to play the Buccaneers twice, considering you got to play the Falcons twice, Panthers twice. You got the Chiefs this year. You have the 49ers on their schedule. That's going to be a tough one. They got the Eagles on their schedule. Um, you know, 10.5. I can see them probably getting to 11 wins. Um, you know, and that's just because the trust I have in Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Those guys have been together for 14 plus years now. So, if I had to bet on anybody on division, I'd bet on them, because the experience that they have with the talent that they have, they're going to find a way to win these tough games. So, I would take the over on that. I think they can get to 11. Best case scenario for them, 12. But I think they can get the over on that. Now, the next team is the Falcons. Um, you know, Falcons, they 2 years ago had started out 7-2. Um, so, or not even 2 years ago, last year. So, they had a good start. They ran into a couple of rough games there where it kind of set them back, and things just kind of, the wheels just kind of flew off at that point. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year. Now, they don't have Devontae Freeman anymore, but they did pick up Todd Gurley. Now, Todd Gurley, not the same Todd Gurley from 3 years ago. Don't get me wrong. But can he still produce? I do think so. I think there has been a lingering injury with him that has prevented him from producing at a top level for the past couple of years. So we'll see if he can come back 100% healthy. They have Calvin Ridley. They've got Julio Jones. Um, Matt Ryan, always, again, just like Drew Brees, always there. He's always producing. And if I needed him to give me a game-winning drive, uh, I'd have pretty good confidence in him. So it's going to come down to how Todd Gurley plays. If he can be healthy and if he can reminisce the pre-contract extension Todd Gurley, I think the Falcons are going to be in good shape. I think they're going to be able to um, give a lot of teams some trouble that weren't expecting it. Now, Vegas has their over under set at 7.5. Now, understandable. They, again, same schedule pretty much as the Saints. They got the Cowboys. They've got the Chiefs. They've got the Buccaneers twice, Saints twice, Panthers twice. So it's gonna be tough. 7.5, I think, is a little low for them though. I think they can. I think they can get to 9 wins. I think best case scenario for them is probably a 10-win season. But I think 9 wins is realistic for them. So I would definitely take the over on this one. I like them as a team as a whole. It's just a matter if everybody can stay healthy. That's the biggest question for them. Um, that kind of brings me to the next team with the Buccaneers. So Buccaneers, obviously all the talk is about them this offseason. They went out, got Tom Brady. Tom Brady convinced Gronk to come out of retirement. They got Gronk. They already had Chris Godwin. They already had um, Mike Evans. So they went out and revamped. They put a lot of faith in Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady just turned 43. Not young by any means. Um, Last year, was it a matter of he just didn't have enough weapons, or was it a matter of age? Who knows? I think it was a combination of both. I think just like Drew Brees, Tom Brady has been unable to make some throws that we've seen him make in the past. That's just could be because of age. So we'll see. He's got his offense is loaded now. He's got weapons on top of weapons in Tampa. So I think it's going to be, I think he's going to benefit from it. Can he go out there and produce like he used to in early 2010s? We'll see. But I think he's got the right coach to do it with Bruce Arians. I think he's got the right people around him. So it's just a matter of if he can pick up the playbook relatively quickly, because you got to think he's been in the same system for 20 plus years. New system is always hard to learn for anybody. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, Tampa over under is set at 9.5. So that's a little bit of a rough one. So I do think Tampa has the potential to be a great team. I do think they have the potential to win double digit games. But the worry I have with them is we've seen in the past a team with new quarterback, new players, relatively new coach. It takes some time, and there's going to be some growing pains. And unfortunately, when you're in a division this tough, growing pains might be what prevents them from taking that leap and taking that next step. So 9.5, I'm going to take the under there. I don't see them winning more than 9 games. I think 10 games is probably best case scenario for them, but 9 seems about right. So I'm going to take the under at 9.5 with the Buccaneers. Sorry. Now with the Panthers. Now Panthers are an interesting team here because they went out and they signed Teddy Bridgewater, who we saw what he did when Drew Brees was out last year. Um, Teddy Bridgewater is good. He's good. He can make plays. He's been in a lot of systems. He's a proven veteran. He's got some pretty good talent. So we'll see how he does. It definitely helps that he's got Christian McCaffrey, who's probably the best all-around player in the league right now, in my opinion. So that definitely helps. It's just unfortunate for the Panthers that they're in this division, because this division is just stacked. Um, there's no nicer way to really put that. And I think with the Panthers, because the division is so stacked, their over unders reflect that at 5.5. So, 5.5. Uh, I actually that seems about right. 5.5. I can see them winning 5 games. I can win them seeing 6. I can see them winning 6 games. So I'm gonna stay away from that one. I'd probably just leave that one alone. Um, like I said, I can see them going over by a game and under by a game. So it's kind of hit or miss there. So now, in terms of who I think is going to win the division, I think it's still the Saints division to lose. I know there's a lot of new faces, new players, some high-powered offenses in this division, but I think at the end of the day, Saints have the most consistency. They have the most familiarity with each other. They've been there multiple times. So for me, it's still their division to lose. Now, last but not least, we have the NFC West. Now, this as well with along with the NFC South, I think are the two best um, divisions in football right now, in my opinion. You got the Niners, you got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, and you got the up and coming Cardinals. Now, let's start off with the Niners. Coming off of a Super Bowl run, um, devastating loss to the Chiefs, but honestly, it's the Chiefs, so I don't know if you can really consider it devastating or just one of those things. Well, it's the Chiefs. We kind of saw that coming with them. but Shanahan has this team firing on all cylinders. Um, I think they're going to be back. I think, they are on a mission. They've been there. They've tasted the success of getting to the Super Bowl. Shanahan, this is twice now he's been there, twice that he's lost, uh, both from comebacks. So, they're going to get running back Jerick McKinnon back. So that's going to help them out. They've got Tevin Coleman. So they got some nice weapons there at running back. Receivers, Debo Sweeney, he is he's good, man. I like him. He is a speedster. He can get downfield. He can burn a lot of secondaries. If Garoppolo can play as consistent as he has been since he's gotten there, this team is going to be right where they were. Again, that defense once again solid as ever. They are going to be top three defense again. Nick Bosa is an absolute beast. Richard Sherman still has it in the secondary. So it's going to be fun to watch this team. And I think Vegas knows that, and their over under reflects that. They're set at 10.5 over under. I like the over on that. I know they're in a tough division, but they're playing the AFC East this year. So that'll kind of help them with teams in that division being a little bit weaker. They're also playing the NFC East with the Giants and the Washington Football Team. So I think they can definitely get over. I think their ceiling is probably 12 wins. 11 seems a little more realistic, but I think 12 wins is definitely doable. The next team in this division I want to talk about is the Rams. Now the Rams, again, one of those teams that not quite sure what happened last year, but I can see them definitely bouncing back. Um, you know, Sean McVay, he was touted as the golden boy, the next best thing since Belichick, basically. So he's looking to get back to that point. He has a lot to prove this year. He wants to show people that last year was a fluke and that the year before when they went to the Super Bowl was really what this team's all about. So he's looking to get to that point. Jared Goff, he had a pretty good season last year. So if he can carry that over, that's going to be good for them. They picked up running back to replace Todd Gurley. They picked up Cam Akers from Florida State. So he should be able to fill in the hole that Todd Gurley left. I know they lost Brandon Cooks, but they still got Cooper Kupp. They still got Robert Woods. So they still got some pretty good weapons. So and that defense again, you got Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the league probably right now. So he's an absolute beast. So you know they're going to be able to be in a lot of games this season, whether it's through their offense or their defense just holding people at bay. So their over under is set at 8.5. Um, and I like the over on that. You know, um, again, they're playing the AFC East, which is a weaker division right now. I think the ceiling for them is probably 10 wins. And I think that's what they'll get to. I think they'll get to 10 wins, and that's what they'll be at the end of the season. Um, the next team here is the Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks, they were probably the surprise of the division last year. I don't think anybody really expected them to do much last year, especially with um, they lost some players. Doug Baldwin retired. Jimmy Graham left. So I think people were kind of up in the air with them. But Tyler Lockett played awesome last year. DK Metcalf as a rookie played amazing last year. They revamped that defense. They picked up Jamal Adams in a trade. They're creating a Legion of Boom Part 2, it seems like. So I think they actually are probably the dark horse in this division, in my opinion. Russell Wilson, top tier quarterback. He's been there. He knows what it takes to win. He knows how to carry himself in situations. He knows how to stay calm, collected in tough situations. And I think that's going to prove beneficial for them. So Seahawks over under, they are set at 9 wins. And I actually like the over for them. I think they can actually win 12 games. I know, again, tough division. I get that. But They always play tough against the Niners. They always play tough against the Rams. They seem to own Arizona. I know Arizona plays them tough, but they seem to own them. So I can definitely see them winning 12 games. So I definitely like the over on that. I think 9 wins is a little bit low for them, so I definitely like the over on that. And then last but not least, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Um, this team's going to be fun to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, they picked up DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason. Kyler Murray was already a fun player to watch, anyways, towards the end of the second half of the season. So now that he has a weapon like DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to be really fun to see what they can do together. They've built that team really around Kyler Murray's skill set. They got a lot of speedy receivers. You know, they have a versatile running back. So, they can definitely um, they can definitely make some noise in this division. I don't think they're going to win the division by any means. I don't think they're there yet. But they can definitely wreak some havoc. Their over under is set at 7.5. I don't think they're going to go over that. I think the ceiling for this team is probably 7 wins. But knowing what they did last year, knowing the players they brought in, the ability DeAndre Hopkins has to alter a game, uh, you know, those 7 wins could come at the expense of some of the teams in the division, like the Niners, Rams, or Seahawks. So it'll be fun to watch them. They're probably going to be playing spoiler most of the season, would be my guess, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. So in terms of who I think is going to win the division in the NFC West, um, you know, it's a tough one. All these teams can make a case outside of the Cardinals, probably. I think um, Rams, Seahawks, Niners. They all have shown they can win in the past, but I think again the Niners are going to take the division this year. I think they're out to, like I said, uh, prove a point. They're on a mission this year. They want to get back to the Super Bowl, and they want a chance to redeem themselves. Not just the Niners as a team, but Kyle Shanahan as a coach. So it'll be definitely fun to watch. So that wraps up the NFL preview part one, the NFC. Next week, we'll be back next week with the NFL preview part two with the AFC. We'll shoot to run that end of next week. We'll have a regular episode of the pod, normal time Wednesdays. So be sure to tune in. Be sure to subscribe. Um, Subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you guys get your podcast pleasure. So you don't miss out on any of these new episodes. Follow me personally on Twitter at avpatel730. Follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at 5 for podcasting. If you have any questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions for the pod, please feel free to email me at 5forpodcasting@gmail.com. That's 5 spelled out for podcasting at gmail.com. Hope you guys enjoyed today's pod. We'll see you Wednesday.